What's going on, guys? It's Paul here, currently out on the Foothills Trail doing what was supposed to be a 6-day thru hike. Plans have kind of changed, so I'll talk about that in a different video if you're interested. But I spent about 4 months planning this trip, so that gave me a lot of time to refine my gear list and also pick up a few new pieces of gear for me to test out on this trail. So I figured I would do a little video and show you guys all of the gear that I'm carrying for this 6-day hike. Now, with that said, what I can say is that without camera gear, my base weight was 11.25 pounds. However, because I like to do videos like this one, I was carrying about 5 pounds of camera gear, and then once you add in almost 2 liters of water, fuel, and 6 days of food, that weight very quickly got up to 31 pounds, which was a little more than what I was hoping for, but I knew that most of that was going to be consumable weight, so the weight was going to drop fairly quickly, and I was okay with that. So with that said, let's get right into all of the gear, and the first thing I'll talk about is something brand new that I was testing on this trip, and that is the backpack. It's the Z-Packs Arc Air 50, which if you've watched my videos, you know I love my Gossamer Gear G420, but that 42 liter pack was going to be just barely too small for the gear that I wanted to carry, and also a full 6 days of food. So I picked up this backpack, and I've only got 30 miles on it so far on this trip, and I really like it. There are a few things I don't like, and I'll talk about that just kind of as I go through the pack. First of all, I'll spin it around. I'll show you what I was carrying here. This is the Z-Packs hip belt pouch. It's empty right now. That's typically where I would carry a snack bar or two, and that's where I'd carry my cell phone as well. On this side, this is the Chicken Tramper Ultralight Gear camera bag. They've padded it, and so it protects the camera a lot better. So like when I got to camp at night, I would take the camera, put it in this pouch, and I could actually, I've set this up with a carabiner here so I can really easily slide this camera bag off. So just when I have it stored for the night, I know that it's in a nice protected case. I really like this bag. The only thing is that it's not quite as quickly accessible as I like when I'm on trail. So I was still carrying the Peak Design capture clip, and on that I was carrying this camera, which is the Sony A7C. I'm using the Tamron 28-200 lens and the Deity D4 Duo microphone. I'm not going to talk really any more about that because I have a whole video all about backpacking camera gear where you can find out more information about that stuff. Another Chicken Tramper Ultralight Gear item is this water bottle pocket that I kept on this shoulder, and in that I just kept, I think this is the 0.7 liter smart water bottle with the sport cap. And I also have over here the Garmin InReach Mini, so I could keep in touch with my wife, check in on my wife and my baby while I'm out here. I feel like when I carry that, it's more so that I can check in on them than they check in with me. But whatever, love having a InReach Mini. I think that's everything on this side. I'll kind of spin it around. And in this pocket, what I have is, I didn't bring a chair on this trip because I was trying to keep weight as low as possible, but I still like to carry a few luxury items. So I carried my hammock setup. I'm not sleeping in a hammock, but these were just for kind of in lieu of a chair, lounging around if we take a long lunch or when we get to camp. What I have here is the Hammock Roo Single UL hammock, and then I also have the Hammock Python 10 UL straps. Together, this weighs like half the weight of my Helinox Chair Zero. So even though I love that chair, I left it at home on this trip, and I just took this hammock setup, which has proved to be very nice to have on this trip. Nothing else in that pocket. What I have clipped here, because you guys, if you've seen my videos, you know I like nerdy data. This is the Kestrel D3. It's a temperature and humidity data logger, just so that I can keep up with what temperatures we hit during the day and at night. Spin around here in the other pocket, I kept a 1 liter Body Armor water bottle. Then we get to the mesh pocket on the back. This is where I kept things that I would need to really quickly be able to access on trail. Like, for example, my dirty water bladder, which is the HydroPack Seeker 3 liter. And I have connected to that the Katadyn Be Free filter, so I could, whenever I come up to a cold water stream, filter some water into these bottles. Really love that setup, love the flow rate of the Be Free. I also have the Hilltop Packs folding sit pad. Now this bag is my hygiene slash first aid slash repair slash just about anything I need to access quickly bag, which is a Hyperlite Mountain Gear drawstring bag. And in that I have a small thing of hand sanitizer. I have some sunscreen. This is the Blue Lizard 50 SPF stick. So instead of a squeeze lotion where you get it all over your hands, I'm using a stick. 50 SPF because obviously. And for bug spray, I'm using the Sawyer Picardin spray, which I prefer the spray over the lotion. But the smallest size that I could find the spray in was a 3-ounce bottle. So I got these little tiny, I think this is 1-ounce spray bottles, and just poured a little bit into this. Next up, this is actually electronics. So this is a battery bag for my camera. This is the Hilltop Packs battery bag, which if you're carrying a camera or anything with extra batteries, this little pack is pretty cool because they have green on one side, red on the other, and there's a little divider in the middle, so you can keep your charged and dead batteries separated. I just think green means go, red means dead, and that's how I can keep up with which batteries need to be recharged. Next is my hygiene bag. So in this I have toothbrush, toothpaste, some Kleenex, chapstick, a little bit of Dr. Bronner's soap. Next up is first aid and repair kit. Really pretty minimal. I've kind of refined this over the years. I've got some Leuko tape, Sharpies, a tiny bit of anti-itch cream, triple antibiotic ointment, Band-Aids, some anti-diarrheal, Excedrin, ibuprofen. I've got a few repair items like some Gorilla Tape. What else do I have in here? Gear Aid, a few zip ties, just some general repair and first aid items. This company sent me a box of these. I think the company is Bigfoot Bushcraft, and they make these tiny little fire starters that are basically just wax and cotton. They smell amazing, which I was not expecting. You just twist them apart. You can light it with a lighter or strike it with a fire striker, and they are listed as burning for about 5 minutes. I was, in my testing, able to burn it for about 4, and they're pretty nice because they weigh only like 0.3 ounces. So if you're like me and you want building a fire to be minimal work when you get to camp, check these out. I've been pretty impressed with them so far. And I think the last thing that I have in here is my little bit of toilet paper and the Deuce of Spades trowel. That's everything that is in that bag. So continuing on in the mesh pocket here, I have some socks here. So I'm carrying 3 pair of socks, which basically allows me to wear 1 pair. I have 1 clean pair inside the bag that's dry. And then what I would do is, this is basically a used pair that I've rinsed somewhere, and then I stick it in this mesh pocket to dry throughout the day. And I kind of keep that cycle going. If you can hear a weed eater or a chainsaw or something running in the background, I think they're doing some trail maintenance just down the trail. This is my tent footprint. It's the Polycro footprint from 6 Moon Designs. Super lightweight, and you are able to reuse these for quite a while. I have found that as they get wet, that some of the stuff on the ground tends to stick to these, but when I get home, I'll hang it up to dry, and then all the debris shakes off of it pretty easily, and I'll wrap it back up to use for the next trip. Next, I have the REI small towel. It's really nice just for wiping down condensation from your tent, or if you get something a little wet, it's nice just to have a little towel to wipe things off with. Then I have my tent stakes. I keep those in the back here, and also these are the tent poles. These are the carbon fiber ones from 6 Moon Designs. I'm using a trekking pole tent, which I'll get to in a little bit, and for this trip I brought these separate poles because Ross, who is hiking with me, I have him using my adjustable poles, so I'm using these. Now to open this up and get into the pack itself, really quickly, what I'll just mention about the pack is that I love the way it carries weight. I love the design of the hip belt pocket. I like this mesh. I prefer a Lycra mesh pocket because they're a little more stretchy. What's funny is that I purchased this, you know, there's a lead time. They sent it to me about 2 weeks after it arrived. They sent out a big email that you can now get this pack with a Lycra mesh pocket. So heads up, if you're interested in the pack, you can now get it with Lycra. Now at the top of the bag, this is what I'll say has been my least favorite thing about this bag so far. It's a small thing, but this roll top is really short. That's something I love about my Gossamer Gear bag, is that it's got a really tall, really deep roll top. I mean, you can see the just few inches of fabric that they gave you right there, which means that even when there's not much in the pack, I'm doing pretty well to get even one roll out of that. So when I had a full 6 days of food in there, I kept having the top open up because there's just not a lot of extra fabric to roll down. Now the very first thing that I keep on the top here is the Outdoor Research Helium 2 rain jacket. I don't like carrying that on the outside of the pack just to prevent it from getting snagged on a tree limb or something. So I keep that being the very first thing at the top. I am using the Z-Pack's Dyneema pack liner. And inside there, this is my food bag. Now, I've already been on the trail for 3 or 4 days so far, so I've gone through about half of my food. This is the Hilltop Packs large Dyneema food bag, and I'm going to do a separate video talking about the food that I carried for this full 6-day carry of food. Next up, what I keep right next to my food bag is my tent, because I want that to be one of the first things I can pull out of the pack to set up when I get to camp. This is the Gossamer Gear The One, which is a trekking pole style tent. Really love this tent, super lightweight, and it's not too badly priced either because it's still nylon and not Dyneema. So next up is my Cookset. Now you may have heard me mention in previous videos, for the past several years I've been keeping my Cookset wrapped in a bandana because I like to be able to unroll that and have a little clean space to set things while I'm making my dinner. The only issues that I've had with the bandana is that for its purpose it was a little on the heavy side, and because it was fabric, it would absorb any water if, say, the ground was wet, or if I set something wet on top of the bandana, it would get soaked. So I wanted to swap to something a little bit lighter and waterproof, but I also wanted to still be able to roll it out and have a flat, clean space to set things. So I'm kind of proud of this. It's very minor, but this is my first homemade piece of gear. What I did is I went to the Ripstop by the Roll website, and they sell a Dyneema do-it-yourself stuff sack kit. So it comes with a section of Dyneema fabric and some drawstring and a cord lock, and I kind of modified that. So with the way that I made this, it will cinch up all the way around the Cookset, but then I can also open it up and it will lay almost perfectly flat, so I still have a decent sized space to set things while I'm cooking. And I can say that it does fit both the Toke's 550 and 750 mil pots. So if you're interested in that, let me know, and I may do a little tutorial video in the future showing how I made this little Cookset cover. Now I am on this trip using the Toke's 550 because I wasn't planning to do any cooking in the pot itself. Anytime I'm doing cooking in the pot, I'll use the Toke's 750 just to have a little bit more room. Inside of that, I'm carrying a Bic mini lighter, a BRS 3000T stove, a 110 gram fuel canister, and the REI little washcloth. This is nice because I can use it to clean off my utensil or clean out my pot. The next thing that I have in my pack is what I'm calling my tent bag, because I was kind of tired of having multiple bags kind of strewn throughout my tent, getting kind of unorganized, and just, it was kind of a mess. So I've set this up so that this is really the only bag that I need to keep with me in my tent, and it's stuff that hopefully I don't need until after my tent is set up. So the bag that I'm using here, and you'll notice one of the upgrades I've made as I've been planning this trip over the last 4 months, is I've swapped out most all of my bags to Dyneema bags. This is no exception. This is the Dyneema, I think it's the medium packing cube from Z-Pack. So it has a little cinch strap over here so you can tighten it up, and it's a nice zippered pocket right here. And mostly what I'm carrying in this bag is any extra clothing, which on this trip we were going to have highs around 90 and lows around, I think it was 57 degrees Fahrenheit is what we've seen so far. So definitely not very cold, did not require much additional clothing. So I have the QU Peloton 97 fleece hoodie. This thing is super lightweight and it's been perfect on this trip. It's the only added warmth that I've really needed. Very comfortable. The fit is a little strange. I'm kind of long in the torso. These are designed to be a little short in the torso, so if you're long like me, get one step up in size. Next up, the other clothing items that I have, as I said, I'm carrying 3 sets of socks. So I have a pair of smart wool socks here. These would be the ones in the cycle that are dry and ready to be used. And I also have 1 extra pair of underwear, which I only keep in this bag if it's already dried out in the outside pocket. So sometimes this lives in the mesh outside pocket of the backpack. And other than that, I have the little bit of medication that I might need with me inside the tent. So I have some ibuprofen, I have some allergy tablets, and some sleep aid inside this little bag so that I don't have to keep my full first aid kit and hygiene kit inside the tent with me. Inside this bag, I also have the little Hyperlight mountain gear bag that I use as my wallet. I also have my Gerber Dime multi-tool. Now sometimes I will take this out of the tent bag and I'll keep it in the hip belt pocket of my backpack just in case I need it while I'm on trail. And I think everything else that I have inside this bag is all electronics stuff. And I can tell you, if you haven't noticed already, I'm carrying way too many electronics. That's kind of what I do, so carry whatever you're most comfortable with. But what I'll say is that I'm carrying the Nitecore NB10000 battery bank. I have a review on this video if you want to check it out, but I knew that being 6 days and also recharging cameras and things like that, 10,000 milliamp hours was not going to be enough. So I'm also carrying a RAV Power 15,000 milliamp hour. Other than that, I have a bunch of cables. I have my, I think it's Anchor, yes, the Anchor power line. It's a USB to micro USB cable, and then it comes with an adapter on the end for one for Lightning for charging my iPhone and one USB-C for charging USB-C devices. And I also have the charge cable for the Coros Vertix watch. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. And the only other thing that I keep inside this bag is my Nitecore NU20 headlamp. And again, this is something that I may occasionally keep on the outside of the pack if I anticipate not getting to camp until after dark. Most of the time though, especially during the summer, it's not getting dark till like 8 or 9 o'clock here. So I've been keeping this inside my tent bag. And the rest of what I have down inside this pack is my sleep system, which I keep at the very bottom, for one, to keep the heavier weight at the center of the pack, and also because this needs to be the last thing I pull out after my tent is already set up. So sleep system consists of sleeping pad, which is the Sea to Summit Etherlight XT. Really love this sleeping pad. I sleep really well on it. Really durable pad. And I'm using it without the pump sack slash stuff sack just to save an extra couple of ounces. And it doesn't take very long to inflate just by breath. Next up is my Rab silk liner. Really love this, especially on these hot trips when I get in the tent and it's still like 75 degrees as it was, I think, the second night at camp. Way too warm to get under the quilt, so this is perfect. And the last thing that I have down inside the backpack is my quilt. This is the Enlightened Equipment Revelation 30. It's a custom quilt, so I used 10D outer and a 7D liner along with a 950 fill down. Really love this quilt. It's super comfortable. The 7D liner breathes really well, even those nights when I end up sweating in the tent at night. And I was a little worried, being that this is a 30-degree quilt and I knew that my temps were not going to get anywhere near that low. I was a little worried that it would be too warm, but being that the Revelation can be completely unzipped into just a lay flat blanket, I was able to just cover over with that, and it's still lighter than the 50-degree bag that I have, so I brought the Revelation 30. So that is everything inside the backpack. Now, as for everything that I'm wearing, first of all, wearing or carrying is my trekking poles. These are the Gossamer Gear LT3s, which are fixed length carbon fiber trekking poles. They've unfortunately discontinued these, and I hate that because I absolutely love these. Probably got about 400 miles on them, and they've been excellent. My hat is a Sunday afternoons hat. I've been using Sunday afternoons hats for several years now. Really like these, pretty lightweight. My shirt is a North Face Hyperlayer FD, my all-time favorite hiking shirt, super soft, super light. Unfortunately, I think they've also discontinued these shirts, so if you can find them anywhere, snatch it up, and you could probably get it for a pretty good price. The shorts that I'm using, these are Mud Gear shorts. I just found them on Amazon. They were fairly cheap. I'll link them below. They're fairly thick, so I like that they're a little thicker than most running shorts because I don't feel like I'm gonna rip a hole in them if I snag them on a branch or something. But they're also still fairly light. They have a ton of stretch, so they've been super comfortable to hike in. And I haven't had any issues with chafing either. Now, these shorts do come with a built-in liner. I don't prefer that, so I just cut the liner out, and they've been working really well for me. And finally, my watch. This is something kind of new that I'm testing, and I'm going to do a full review on it later on whenever I've had a little more time with it. This is the Coros Vertix GPS watch. What I'll say so far is that it has incredible battery life. I've been really impressed with it. I'm getting battery life accurate to what it's rated at, and I've also been really impressed with the GPS accuracy. So that's about all that I'll say for right now. I'll save the rest for a full review at some point in the future. So that is all of the gear that I'm carrying on this 6-day hike. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comment section below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.